My name is Jakub Polaczyk. As the Vice President of New York Arts and Dance Innovation and Artistic Director of the Chopin and Friends Festival in New York City, I have a pleasure and honor to have today our guest speaker, the Maestro Jan Pellant, the conductor, who originally is from Czech, but currently is based in the United States. I had the pleasure to meet him many, many years ago when I studied in Brussels at the Royal Conservatory of Music. I was studying composition, but Jan did his studies in conducting with Professor Ronald Zolman, and also as exchange students from Czech. And then soon afterwards, he moved to the States, to the Carnegie Mellon University, where he did his master's degree. And we collaborated many times. We had some projects together with new music, but not only. And after that, he moved to the Kentucky, to the University of Kentucky, UK, where he studied DMA in conducting with Professor John Nadorillo. And he made his own orchestra there, Lexington Chamber Orchestra. And after that, just recently, he got a position as a conductor at the Coeur Symphony Orchestra, where he's actually now based in Coeur d'Alene. He will share with us also about his recent 6 months during these quarantine talks, but also about his experiences working with the different orchestras, because as a conductor, he created his own orchestra in Lexington. He's conducting now Coeur d'Alene, but he also was working with the Czech National Orchestra. He was also working with the Ghana Festival, with the orchestra in Africa, and many different orchestras also in China. So we hope that he will share a little bit about that and about his current time, about the situation of orchestra, with the concert season. So, hello, Jan. So nice to see you. Hello.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Hello, Jan. So good to see you. And tell me, first, when we start this conversation during the quarantine talks, if you can tell me about your time when maybe last half year, because the time when the orchestra got closed, the season got canceled. So how was this in Coeur d'Alene? How was this with your orchestra, Coeur d'Alene Symphony Orchestra? Tell about this.
Yes, it was a very unexpected situation. What happened in the middle of March, that there were a lot of concerts scheduled for the Coeur d'Alene Symphony. Unfortunately, the restrictions happened, so finally the board decided to postpone the whole season to the year of 2021-22. I think I personally spent this time preparing a lot of chamber music because this season will be basically this smaller chamber groups, with fantastic artists on the stage from the Coeur d'Alene Symphony. And I was preparing the chamber masterworks by well-known European Western composers, and of course looking at many new scores for the future possibilities. So it's interesting times, I think, for most of the musicians, and maybe we will have a lot of great new chapters coming up in the music field. So let's see what's going to happen, and of course wish us all the best to go through this uneasy situation as fast as we can.
And Jan, are you planning some new seasons? So the next season are you going to have the new works, or generally the pieces that haven't been performed? And also, do you do sometimes some meetings, rehearsals online, like Zoom, with musicians, or you don't do that?
This year, Coeur d'Alene Symphony will have 5 live streaming performances.
That's nice.
They are titled, actually the first already happened 2 weeks ago, and it was titled European Postcards. In 2 weeks, there's other live stream that will be titled.
How we can watch it on YouTube, or what's the?
Yes, it will be online on YouTube and on special online streaming link that will be on the website of the cdasymphony.org.
Do we need tickets for that, or it's free for everyone? How does it work?
So right now it's free for everyone, but of course we welcome any possible donations, and for any kind of help in these uneasy times.
So okay, so that's a live recording or pre-recorded concert?
That's the live recording from the church in Coeur d'Alene that will have a lot of Baroque style groups. This will be Corelli and Bach in 2 weeks. So this will be live streamed directly on December 4th to almost any part of the world. So it's a lot of excitement in the community right now. And I would say the rehearsals are happening in the similar way as before, just these little smaller groups. So it's I would say chamber music making time for these months, as we know. Yes.
Yes, chamber music is also very special. It's very it's different, but it's very important.
Yes,
for
a lot
history.
of exactly a lot of actually chamber works, also from the 18th century, I believe, did finally turn out to be orchestral pieces later. So I think the chamber music is kind of good introduction for the big orchestra field that we are working with nowadays.
Also, yeah, because we are talking about this Coeur d'Alene, but I also mentioned you created this your Lexington Orchestra, chamber orchestra, in Kentucky. So tell us, how is the situation with the orchestra? Is it also going live streaming?
So Lexington Chamber Orchestra is doing radio broadcasts from the concerts from the concerts from the past, and right now there are a lot of diverse music styles being broadcast, starting from Bach until Janáček. So this is the situation with Lexington Chamber Orchestra, and yes, this was the orchestra that I had the privilege to start with some of my colleagues 5 years ago, starting in the fall of 2015, and it turned out to be really amazing experience. And eventually, in 5 or even in less 4 years, there was a big moment that there was a merge with the prestige Chamber Music Festival of Lexington, and I think the Lexington Chamber Orchestra now belongs to the important orchestras in the central Kentucky and around, artists also from the faculty of the University of Kentucky. So I am very, very proud of this orchestra as well.
Congratulations, Jan. Had experience working with different instruments and different soli. How do you like it, this role? And tell also about the solis that perform maybe with Coeur d'Alene Orchestra.
Thank you for this great question. I had chance to work with several amazing artists, amazing soloists that I think they will stay forever in my memories. And my way of working with soloists in general is to basically learn from them what are their music intentions, and I don't try to change much of it unless it's really something that it's completely far from the traditional interpretation. However, I feel very privileged to have chance to work with soloists, as it's again kind of chamber music making, when the orchestra, soloist, and the conductor work together, and the audience would have a very good time on the stage. I think a lot of transcendental moments happens as well. So I would say my experiences are basically working with a lot of string players.
You are a string player. You are a viola player.
Viola players. Let me mention several of names, and I of course don't want to forget any of them. For example, James Basfo, Vladimir Bukac, and of course many other fabulous string players. And talking about composers, I enjoy doing premieres and to work with contemporary composers. And I remember a lot of pieces I had chance to conduct of yours. And I think what is most important aspect for really having unforgettable time on the stage, which means also to learn the scores as well as you can, and then to work with the other musicians on the stage, is to really imagine that every concert or every event, every performance is the last one ever. So how to get ready for it, and if that all happens, then it's really fabulous moments on the stage. So yes, I do enjoy very much working with the soloist, and it's a special way of conducting and following to make sure that the orchestra is not overpowering the soloist, and at the same time that the soloist is trying to match the sound of the orchestra, because still the soloist, even if it's probably the most important person on the stage, it's still part of music making with other musicians on the stage. So there are a lot of amazing moments that can happen in these collaborations.
Yes, Jan, I want to thank you for that, for sharing that with us. But tell me also about your collaborations in the Czech and the differences. Well, I want to mention now, and that you conducted also with soloists in Prague. And you had mentioned, you play, for example, with Nicholas Kozainov, one of the very important names of the Chopin competition. So how was your preparation? Which concerto did you perform?
I think, yeah, when you mentioned this experience of mine with Nikolai Kojanov, very talented Russian pianist, that was with the Czech National Symphony Orchestra, I think 2013, if I'm not mistaken, and that was Mozart concerto. I don't remember exactly.
I was
which
Mozart.
one.
Okay.
That was Mozart, and the second half consisted of Dvořák's New World Symphony.
Yes.
And I think I was 27, 28 years old, and I remember for one of the very big opportunities to work with that great orchestra like Czech National Symphony is. So working with the soloist might be different depending on which instrument. Yes, for example, to work with singers might be a little different than working with string soloist or eventually the pianist. I think with the singers, like probably in the same way when conducting operas, it's important that the conductor gives especially clear direction about the intentions, where the music, where the phrase is going, and the singer is basically showing the inner voice in this best way as possible. With the string players, I think the conductor has to be very sensitive when accompanying with the whole orchestra, again in a task of not overpowering. Usually there is less time spent on agreeing on the tempo. I usually like to follow the tempo of the soloist if that matches the interpretation. And I think with the singer soloist, the conductor can be more in closer connection with the cues, especially with also giving the clear tempo, of course. And yeah, it's interesting. So I think when I have chance to work with several soloists in Europe, in Czech Republic, I think it was very much based on their international experiences around places. And other orchestra I could work with was, for example, Prague Symphony Orchestra. That was a very good, very amazing experience. North Czech Philharmonic was fantastic. Talich Chamber Orchestra, Karlin Theatre Orchestra from Prague. We went on a tour to Romania.
But Jan, how many orchestras are in Czech? Do you know generally? This main orchestra, how many?
I think there are approximately 15 professional orchestras in Czech Republic. Approximately.
It's quite a lot.
And Prague, yes, and Prague has 4 symphonic orchestras, if I remember well, and there are, of course, fantastic chamber orchestras as well. Prague Chamber Philharmonia and Chamber Orchestra and many others. So I think like in Poland here, you have these great traditions of the orchestras over there, the sound, the unique sounds, and the members in the orchestras usually have same teachers in the sections, and especially that was the case 30, 40 years ago, I would say. So yeah, it's
how about the festivals, Jan? About the also is there any like a new modern festival in Prague? What's the name?
There are a lot of international festivals in Czech Republic. Prague Spring Festival.
Prague Spring, very famous.
Prague Autumn, Dvořák Festival, Janáček Festival.
Dvořák Festival, oh.
Yes, and of course Chopin Festival as well.
There's also, oh wow, so we have to talk about this.
We have to talk. It's it's actually very much based close to Prague, and
is it a monographic festival, only Chopin perform or not? Is this festival, Chopin Festival, is only about Chopin or not? Not exactly.
It's not exactly in the way that probably we know here in United States. It's in the other version. Yeah. So I think a lot of great festivals over there as well. And what is interesting on the Czech culture, if I can quickly mention this, is this old tradition coming from the 60s, perhaps 70s, when the Prague Conservatory and Prague Academy of Performing Arts, this is the music education institution over there, was basically involved very much in the music culture of each orchestras over there, and again creating this unique sound that are rarely heard today. So yeah,
and also the opera houses was also the other story, very important. Opera orchestra in Prague.
Operas, yes. I'm sure Krakow has fantastic, and Warsaw. Then I now think about it, but I think Prague National Theatre has also a big tradition. Antonín Dvořák spent several years performing as a violist in this theater, and that was, of course, at those times, that was still called Prozatímní divadlo, then that eventually became the Prague National Theatre. So, and of course, nowadays one can also mention the State Opera produce a lot of great productions as well. So yes, these old traditions are still there.
Culture is very rich. Culture is very rich. So you have also a lot of to offer when you create your concerts here with your first one you created with the Lexington Chamber Orchestra. Yeah, is there maybe any piece that is related with the Czech music, Czech composer? Maybe we can play from the, for example, from the Czech, from the Lexington Chamber Orchestra. Maybe tell us the name or maybe the piece that we can listen now that you would like to recommend.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it very much. I think let me introduce a piece by Leoš Janáček.
Oh, wonderful composer! Wonderful composer.
Wonderful, yes. Suite number 2 for strings.
For string orchestra.
Yes, Janáček was one of the most unique composers in the history of classical music, I would say. He was using human speech in his music style. I would just have another similar composer in this way, Oliver Messiaen, trying to imitate sound of birds, for example.
Yes, so that's very good. It's like a sight reading of the national Czech speech, right? But Jan,
a little bit.
You are a specialist of Janáček, as I remember, because you wrote a dissertation about the Missa Glagolika, right?
My bachelor thesis at the Prague Academy in 2007.
Yes, I remember you introduced me to this piece. You know, I'm ashamed to say I never knew that piece very well. I just got to know the title, but you know, through you, I'm very thankful. I got to know this wonderful piece, which is amazing, and I think it's so original for this time. We
had a lot of conversation. I remember, yes, and I was impressed how many things you knew about this piece. I remember our conversations. Yes, Janáček and his glagolitic mass. That was my thesis at the Prague Academy, and this amazing piece. It's for big orchestra. Glagolitic mass is for the big orchestra and choir with the soloists. And yes, as you mentioned, there are old traditional Czech language text,
which is very original,
and it's a very unique piece, very powerful piece, very spiritual piece. And for me, I would best imagine this piece to be performed in almost like in Himalaya in a temple with these fantastic overtones. It's like playing organ in a Notre Dame in church in Paris. To me, this kind of amazing.
So that's a great composer. So when you have chance, you like to program him, right?
Yes. Yes, I'm very much planning on spending great time with Leo Janáček, and I would love to perform more and more his pieces.
Yes. So maybe we listen, Jan. Maybe we can listen to this Lexington Orchestra now.
Lexington Chamber Orchestra.
Which movement are we going to listen, Jan, of this suite?
This would be the first movement of Suite number 2 by Leo Janáček.
Okay, great. So we are going to hear that. Okay, so thank you very much, Jan, for presentation of this Lexington Chamber Orchestra. Sounds great, wonderful strings. As we know, the Czech has a long and great also tradition with the strings players. So, and now I have another question for you about your future plans. future plans as a conductor, maybe also maybe as a teacher? Would you like to teach? Would you like to pass your knowledge and experience to the different students? So what are your plans?
Thank you. Well, my I think my dreams are still that I like to be building things and to be working with eventually just few orchestras, and my plan is to be constantly working with the Coeur Symphony Orchestra and the LCO in Kentucky, and basically there are a lot of great plans in Coeur as well, in a task of creating amazing sound, unique sound, and doing a lot of outreach concert, touring, eventually out of country in the future as well. So my dreams are not change. I want to keep building orchestra and constantly improving everything possible in all ways, and it's I think very much happening, and I'm grateful for it. And I do like doing guest conductings sometimes for you know, to eventually work with orchestras to do some Czech programming especially, and to see also what the other cultures are doing. I think it's important to learn about all kind of music culture going on around, and to bring their own traditions, and to have these opportunities to experience another lives on the stages. So guest conducting.
But you know,
symphonic.
I also planning. Sorry, but I also planning maybe go back to China, because we had a long tour last year there. So you also plan to go to Asia?
I was in China twice on a concert tour. I was conducting there first in 2010, I believe, and that was with the orchestra from the German Berlin News Classical Hochschule Orchestra. The next opportunity came last year. That was with the orchestra from Vienna, Austria, and that was really it was amazing to see the way also how the other orchestras are making music. I was also conducting their traditional Chinese orchestra doing the traditional Chinese songs, and coming back also to my memories in Romania, also in 2007, experiencing these traditional folk dance groups, working with them while I was doing guest conducting over there. That was something that really stays in the mind, I would say. And in France, 7 years or 8 years ago, that was Antonín Dvořák Stabat Mater, this the Czech youth, that was the student orchestra this time. We had very successful concert there. Those are really important moments in the lives, and I'm looking and hoping to follow up on that in the near futures, and with the Coeur Symphony Orchestra.
Yes, I hope the life will soon come back, you know, to real
yes,
real schedule.
I think,
yeah,
a lot of new chapters in the music fields are on the way, I would say. So that's thank you very much for talking about this. You know, if you're starting to talking about memories, but how about your memories with the Chopin and Friends Festival? Because, you know, 4 years ago, I had a privilege and also pleasure that you did premiere of my work, Missa Puncta, which was written for the anniversary of the Christianity of It was premiered here in Brooklyn at the church. And I was very glad that you did that, because you were that time so busy. I remember you were going from one concert to the other concert, from one city to the other city, and you found the time to conduct. And what are your memories and experiences with this Chopin and Friends Festival? Do you remember? I was very impressed how all the organizations went well, and it's a very great memory of mine that I have.
Did you like the acoustic of the church?
I love the acoustic of the church, and I love the piece. I was very much impressed the way how
Thank you
much
very much.
imagination you did put to this piece. Really, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
You know, but Jan,
And
tell me,
I think
do you like performing in the churches as a conductor?
in general, very much. It's always very, to me, very much. I would say kind of adventure in a great way, because I think not only in the church but also in the cathedrals, all these kind of acoustics with the echoes. It's to me very much enjoyable to see where the sound has to go, as each space is so different. So I like to find out always at the dress rehearsals what's really the best way to
balance,
have
but
the orchestra sound
yes.
like, how to also use sometimes even the chairs, the music stands, and do some small adjustments on the stage with the orchestra as well. So that's a lot of interesting moments.
So the Stabat Mater that you just mentioned with Dvorak, did you perform in the church or in the concert space?
That was in France, in the churches, in Coeur and Montauban. That was in 2007, I believe, and it was in the church.
In the church.
That's
with choir.
Stabat Mater by Dvorak. That's an enormous piece also.
Yes, it's a monumental work.
100 artists on the stage. It was
monumental.
And it was interesting to combine all these timbres at the churches over there. I remember this very much. Yes.
Wonderful. And now tell us also about the sound. I'm very interested because you are also working very much about the sounds. That's also something which interests me very much as a composer. How do you create your own sound with the Coeur Orchestra, and how did you make it? And maybe after this we can listen some of the sample of the orchestra at the end.
I like to use the idea of making still chamber music, even with the
Symphony Orchestra.
Even with the large ensemble. Same thing is at least one, which is listening to each other and to be basically adjusting the sound to something. So the chamber music idea I do like to use, that I'm doing with the Lexington Chamber Orchestra. And I think with the Coeur Symphony, there is amazing thing also in the way that basically all the musicians in the orchestra are having like a similar music approach. It's really unique orchestra, a very creative orchestra, and my way of bringing these thoughts for creating the unique orchestra starts from imitating, I would say, the sound of voice, of human voice. It's maybe hard to really explain what is it, human voice. Can we really touch?
Maybe the choir, Jan. Maybe you are thinking about the choir.
I think the sound of choir in the churches is something that stays a lot in the ears, at least in my case. And trying to have similar thing going on with the sound of the strings, the winds, percussions, and all instruments needed for creating great sound is something that eventually would lead to the sound of the, not exactly, but in some way to the choir in the church. Yes, I agree with this. So it's very important to really have a clear idea how the sound has to sound in your mind, how the timbres are talking to the brain in the conductor's mind.
It sounds great, Jan. So maybe now we can listen to one of the maybe final work of working orchestra. Which piece maybe we can listen from Coeur Orchestra and you conducting?
I was going to mention Respighi, Pines of Rome, the finale part. Let's.
Yes, it's very well known, great orchestration. Maybe let's listen to this as a finale, and thank you very much for the conversation of your thoughts, and all the best for the orchestra as well as Coeur d'Alene, also like the chamber orchestra. And so congratulations for all your big work that you've done with the players, with the musicians. and all the best for you, Jan. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you, Jacob. Jacob, it was great to be with you, and I'm excited to work with you and to do other great pieces. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you very much. Our guest was Jan Pellant, the conductor from Czech, but based in the United States. Thank you very much.